right, everyone, welcome class 51. So for class 50, I was expecting you to be here for class 51. So for class 50, you missed. Class 51, you managed to come. All right. All right. So last week we're dealing with there's a guy, and the guy who wants to develop within him a love and fear of God. So he thinks and he learns and he meditates, but it's not. The feeling is not. It's not developing. He's not feeling it. So he said, but if a person thinks and understands, meaning he doesn't feel the emotion, but he understands that this is the proper emotion he should be having, so that's also something special. Because why is he participating in this activity? Because he knows it to be right. Now, is it best if you would feel it? Yeah. But sometimes you do what's right, not because you feel like it. So you do what's right because you got to do what's right. So now, do we say, oh, if you're not totally in the mood, if you're not totally motivated, you shouldn't do it? That's not the Jewish way of thinking. A Jewish way of thinking is do it. And even sometimes I'm gonna learn. Even sometimes you're not in the mood, do it anyway, because there is value of when a person does it and he's trying he's trying to do it for the right reasons. It's a big ask to always do the right thing for ulterior motives, for no ulterior motives, to be totally altruistic. Right? Imagine Chabad would say, "We'll only accept your money if you don't want any recognition. You're doing it totally altruistically. If you want any attention or whatever it is, then we'd be out of business." I mean, when someone wants to do a mitzvah, we don't say, "Listen, if you're not going to do the mitzvah perfectly, don't bother." We don't do that. Why is the person doing the mitzvah? Because he understands he's supposed to do the mitzvah. Now, inside he might not, he might not be feeling the most excited about it, but he understands that he should be doing the mitzvah properly, but he can't for whatever reason. He's distracted, he's tired. Okay, let's continue. And this is what the rabbis hinted when they said the principle that tavuna is a feeling based on understanding. It's not really a feeling, because feeling isn't understanding. Feeling is feeling. So you understand it that you should be feeling this way. To Amram, when they said, it says in the Gemara Kedushin, Achshava Teva, a good thought, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzarfa l'maaseh. Hashem joins it to a good deed. That means, if let's say you want to do a mitzvah, and whatever it is you can't, you're trying, for whatever reason you can't. So Hashem gives you credit almost as if you did it.
You didn't know if you didn't do it?
Right.
Yeah, it's just like getting a point in hockey for tying the
counts.
game.
Yeah. I thought that counts.
No, the actions that counts. No, there's nothing better than action. But let's say you can't do the action for whatever reason, and you want to. So you're saying, but now the Alter Rebbe is going to point something out over here. He said, it should have said, the simple meaning of the phrase is that when one intends to do a mitzvah, but he's prevented from doing so, Hashem ascribes it as though he performed it. It should have said, "My law of Akasav," the Torah considers him ki'ilu asasa, as if we have a book here, as if he actually done it. Why does the Torah say? It says Hashem joins the thought to deed, which seems to indicate that the thought was indeed implemented, but the action is somewhat detached. It's like this: because fear and love should be skalus liboy, in to be revealed in your heart. It means to feel that love in your heart. That is what is driving the action of the mitzvahs. In order to fly up. So Kabbalah says, compares a mitzvah to a bird. Now, in a bird, you have the body of the bird, which is the main body. Then you have the wings. Now, are the wings integral to the life of the bird? No. A bird
Depends on which bird.
No. You break a wing of a bird, it doesn't die. It can't fly.
Yeah, but his life could be in danger.
In danger, but only because of an outside force. But if let's say there were no predators, bird can live fine.
Yes, sure.
So what's the point of the wings then? The wings help the bird fly up. So you have a mitzvah. The mitzvah is the body of the bird, the actual putting on its tefillin, the actual, saying the bracha, saying the shema. The motivation, the love and fear, that's called the wings. That elevates the action from just an action to now it's filled with emotion. Now it becomes special. So if a person does a mitzvah with no feeling, then the mitzvah is, he did a mitzvah, he got a bird, but it's an incomplete bird, so to speak. Now, interesting. According to halacha, you know what treif means?
Something that you're not supposed to eat.
That's a borrowed term.
Okay.
What treif really means is an animal that was going to die anyway. Treifa means a mortally wounded or sick animal. The word treifa literally means torn. Like when a predator, like, with its claw, with its teeth, like tears apart in flesh, that's what it means. So we call a pig, for example, a horse, a treif animal. It's not true. It's not a correct term. These days we have a lot of borrowed terms. That's really the true term for a pig is an impure animal. A cow is a pure animal. A pig is an impure animal. We don't care if the pig is torn apart or not. It can never be kosher. What does kosher mean?
The pig is klipa nalga?
No, the cow is klipas nega.
Okay. What's the one that...
Shalosh klipas male. So 3.
The one that doesn't have any godliness in it?
No, it has, but it can't be redeemed. It's called the 3 impure klipas. Totally impure. The shalosh klipat atmeas. The 3 unclean klipas. The godliness is so locked in, it can never be elevated. So treifa doesn't work. That term doesn't apply to a pig. We call a pig a not kosher animal. Not kosher means it's not fit for consumption.
Hooves, right?
So that's a split hooves and shoots, right?
Choose it's good.
So let's say you have a pure animal. So a cow, whatever it is, called a pure animal. It's a good thing Michael J is not here for this. Let's say you have a cow that's a pure animal, and it's attacked, whatever it is, and it's gonna die. Or sometimes you have a cow that you slaughter it, and then you look inside, and the cow has some diseases or internal injury. That is what's called a treifa. A treifa means it was gonna die regardless. So if an animal's bleeding out and you come with your slaughtering knife and you slice the neck, it doesn't make it fit for consumption because it was gonna die anyway.
Mad cow.
Mad cow. So by the way, you're from New York, you'll know this. So many times you'll see glatt kosher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's glatt mean? Very?
I never
No,
knew.
Very.
I
G-L-A-T-T.
never. It means
Yeah, but
very,
no, it doesn't.
very kosher.
But no, that's what they want you to think. Glatt kosher, it's very kosher. But there's a comedian, I think is one of these Jewish comedians, I think is Ilan Gold. He says, I realize what modern Orthodox means. Modern Orthodox means not so. Are you Orthodox? Whoa, not so Orthodox. But it's not so. Not so Orthodox. Glatt is Yiddish. Glatt means smooth. In Yiddish, there's a saying, when it's not clear, say it's nicht glattig. It's not clear. It's not smooth. But no. So what happened was, for many years, when the Jews were in Eastern Europe, just like human beings get sick in the cold climate, so too the cows would get sick. Now, according to halacha, if the lung has any lesions, then it's not kosher. The problem is, if you live in Russia, Poland, in these colder climates, every cow had something on its lung. So it was almost impossible. So they made a leniency. Ashkenaz. This is one of the only areas where Ashkenazic halacha is more lenient than Sephardic halacha. Usually Sephardic is more lenient, but in this area, because Sephardic Jews were usually based in the Middle East in warmer climates, so sick cows was an anomaly. So there was no reason for this leniency. So now what happened? So for hundreds of years they relied on this leniency. Then when the Industrial Revolution, and instead of slaughtering one cow a day or a week, because we're talking to someone else today. We're learning with somebody says, what if a Jewish guy was selling not kosher meat? This was in the Gemara. So he asked me, why would a Jewish guy be selling not kosher meat? So I was telling him, what happens if you slaughter the animal? Or let's say the shochet didn't do it properly. Because in the laws of shechita, he has to, I'm not a shochet, so this is not, I don't know if this is a spot-on demonstration. But the knife, you should know, you ever see a chalaf, a slaughtering knife?
No.
It's very, very sharp.
It's
Very,
sharpened every time, doesn't it?
every day, not every time.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought you'd pass it by the leather every animal.
No. After a while he does, but no, he doesn't have to. Not every animal, because once the knife is established kosher, unless you have a reason to believe it's not. So after a while, what they do is they run their nail along it to feel any nicks. If it has any nicks, it's not kosher. Why do they do their nail? Why not this? Because it'll just slice through their finger like it's extremely sharp. So the sheikhet just goes. No, you're not allowed to press down. You're not allowed to pick up. It's 2 motions, bang bang.
Least amount of pain.
Yep, it severs the trachea, the esophagus, the jugular. Just bam bam. It's immediate. Now, yeah. So the
butcher has to be pretty strong.
in the old, well, these days it's machinery that holds the animal still, but in the olden days, butchers were monsters. So you know the old joke. I don't know if it's a joke. It could be. It's not a joke, by the way. There was one day a small yidele walking in the street. Some guy anti-Semitic comes over to him, and punches him in the face. Why? Because he's a Jew. So the Jew goes over to him and says, "I want to thank you. Today's a Jewish holiday. What's the holiday? Today's Punch a Jew holiday." So you didn't know? Yeah. And the rule is any Jew that gets punched by a Gentile, you have to give him a reward. So he takes out a kopek, small kopek. He says, "Listen, but I'm a poor Jew." He says, "I don't have any money, but the butchers have money, and they'll reward you. Nice and for punching them." So they got Gentile. Before he did a mitzvah, he went to the mikveh. He put on his hat, his gartel. He said l'shem yichud, and he goes over to the butcher and he punches him in the face. The butcher wasn't having any of that. So he and his sons gave this Gentile
The living daylight.
good clear. It could be a joke, but it's very possible it's true. But anyway, so we got way off subject. So let's say a chicken it has a broken wing. Is it a treifa? No.
I don't know.
No. The answer, I thought you said no. The answer is no,
Okay.
because it doesn't, unless the bone punctures the lung and everything else. But because a bird can live without its wings, right?
Got it.
It's not a treifa. So the proof is
It's just thighs at that point.
It's wings. Buffalo over there. So you say ki alev hu gam kein chumri, because your heart is corporeal. It's a lim kisharivam shem kliya ma'isa. Just like you put a tefillin in your hand. So actually in halacha, Kabbalah talks about what does it mean to love another Jew. What does it mean to love God? What does it mean? How do you do the mitzvah? So Maimonides says. So do you remember when we were all young, and there was that girl, and we had butterflies in our stomach? That's the way you got to feel about God. You got to feel it inside. Yeah. So because your heart is a physical organ, you should feel it in your heart. You want to say something?
No.
Oh, sorry.
I was just thinking about butchering. Every meat processor I've ever met, Jewish guy, also had a side business where he sold the unclean meat to the goys.
Oh,
Every
sorry.
single one, including the biggest one that sold his company for like $3 billion in New York City.
Well,
They all do that,
so the
man.
Gemara.
It's a standard.
Wait. So in the Gemara, just to finish that story. So the reason why, because in the olden days, slaughtering an animal, first of all, was a massive expense, and it was a big risk, because you go
With
buy.
refrigeration, you had to eat it. It had to be like smoked, or it had to be processed like
Right.
soon.
But let's
couldn't
say,
store it.
you're the butcher. And you buy the animal, which was a big expense, big expense, and you don't know what's going on inside the animal. You do your best to walk around, but you don't know. And you slaughter the animal. And either shochet doesn't do a good job, he presses down, no good. He picks up, no good. Oh, you open up the animal, and the animal has a problem. It's it. Your whole investment is gone. So, the Jew is allowed to sell.
The Ashkenazi loophole comes in.
No. Actually, no, I'll tell you something else. No, but you're talking about modern day.
Yeah.
I'll get to that in a second. So the Jew is allowed to sell the meat to a non-Jew, but he has to announce. He has to make it public knowledge, a big deal that I'm selling not kosher meat.
Yeah.
And he also has to let the Gentile know he's selling not kosher meat. Because what if the Gentile turns around? The Gentile goes around.
Both these gentlemen had two separate companies. One was a kosher company, and they had two separate facilities.
But I'll tell you something else in a second. But if a Jew sells not kosher meat, he has to let the Gentile know. Because what if the Gentile says, "Yeah, I was by Cohen's, I bought meat. Do you want to buy it off me?" And he's like, so he has to know. Though, but you're talking about is something else. There's a halacha where we're not allowed to eat the sciatic nerve.
Because that's where
It's called get on with Yaakov when he's fighting, right?
stroke.
Right. So really, you can eat the entire animal, but you have to remove the sciatic.
Yeah, aren't there cultures that devein it? I mean, it takes
So-
a lot of skill and makes
so
most
the
people,
pro- so he-
butchers probably wouldn't be able to do that.
So here's where there's another difference between Ashkenazim and some Sephardim. Some. Most of the Jewish community throughout the world maintains that we do not know how to properly remove it.
Nothing from the hind quarter, only
So-
from forequarter.
So wait 1 second. So it's better not to do the avera. So what do Jewish slaughterhouses do now?
They sell the back
They
half.
just sell the back half to the Gentiles.
Uh-huh.
That's why the whole question of this filet mignon. Now, there are people these days that say they do know how to devein it. That's why if you go to Aroma or whatever it is and you see filet mignon, it's kosher. There's a whole controversy. I don't say controversy. It's not wrong. Controversy is the wrong word. Debate in the Jewish community: should we eat it or not? Some people say we don't need it and we don't need it. Goodbye. Some people say if you trust the hashgacha, the kosher supervision for the front of the animal, then you ought to trust it for the back half of the animal. Yeah.
So, a couple of Shabbos ago, on the ethical business part of the Torah, right, it said that you have to conduct your business in the ethical way where all the weights and measurements
Right.
have to be exact.
Right.
Does that kosher of the cow, does that come from the Torah, or is that later on as we...
What part of the Torah? What do you mean? What kosher of the cow? What part are you
Well,
referring
just
to?
Like the
how
halakhic
the
laws
cow
of,
has
like,
to
kosher.
be...
Everything's from the Torah.
Everything's from
Oh
the
no,
Torah.
no, the slaughter.
Yeah.
No, the Torah does not give us details of slaughter. Torah just says you have to slaughter it,
Right.
and how we have to do it, that comes from Moses by Sinai.
So
That's going back to Moses by Sinai. That's not. There's certain things that are rabbinical. We don't know exactly when it started. We know when certain things are called rabbinical because it's not explicit in the Torah, but it goes back to Sinai.
So the,
Tefillin, mezuzah,
But now-
shechita.
To your thought, you would need to, if you wanted to be an upright, tzaddik, you would need to make sure your weights and measures were calibrated correctly.
100%.
Make sure you're doing proper business.
That's
right?
not a tzaddik. That's
Well,
yeah.
a
The Jew.
businessman would do that, but
I'm saying, but the Torah, by the way, I mean, a couple
I'm
weeks
saying,
ago,
with
if you come
what
to
he's
show,
saying,
you would
it's
read that the Torah says pretty nasty things about people who have
unethical.
inexact measurements, weights.
So the whole process of kasher, right? And the process of killing the cow.
The process of killing,
That came from whom?
Moses.
Rabbinical?
No, Moses came down. Moses came down on Mount Sinai and said, "Guys, God commanded us to put tefillin."
Right.
What does that mean? It doesn't say in the Torah what tefillin is. Same thing. It says God told us we have to slaughter the animal. What does that mean? So when Moses was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights, what was he doing up there the whole time?
Getting direction.
Getting there, sitting. No, Hashem was telling him, bind the sign in your hand and totafos in your mind. This is what it means. This is how Hashem was teaching Moshe how to extrapolate law, what you're calling rabbinical Judaism, which isn't. It's called, rabbinical Judaism is the wrong word. It's called oral law. There's written law, which you see in the scroll, then there's oral law. Oral law means how does the black boxes and black strap, how do you get it from the text? Yeah. Saying that's so shchita, same thing. Shchita, all these things come straight from the Torah. I mean, come straight from it's oral law. That's been done the same way for 3,500 years. That's not.
Before the time of Moses, how did they slaughter animals?
They didn't have to slaughter animals.
Well, they had sacrificial slaughters.
We're not talking about sacrifices.
I understand that.
No, I know, but only the tzaddikim did, and the tzaddikim they did the Torah. But before they killed
He's
that,
asking specifically, like, where in the Torah is you're saying it's just oral laws?
where in the Torah is just oral law?
No, for like the halakhic.
Well, Gid Hanasha, for example, the Sayak Nervous straight out, that's explicit law in the Torah. And the way it works in general, the more explicit it is, the harder it is, so to speak, to work around it. The Torah says straight out, you can't work around it. Like I think we spoke about a while ago about the Aguna, maybe not in this class. A woman who has to get a divorce from her husband.
Yeah, the walking widow.
The walking widow, yeah. Right? There was this, wasn't in the Tanya class, right?
Yeah.
So they say, oh, it's not fair. Why does she have to wait for him? Well, nothing we can do. The Torah is explicit. He has to write for her or commission for her and rid of divorce. If something's explicit in the Torah, the rabbis can't come and say no. It doesn't work that way.
There's no misinterpretation.
There's nothing to misinterpret. It's
There.
that's the way it is. Remember actually this week's parsha. One time this story goes back 20 years ago, more. Guy comes over to me and says, "How come in this week's parsha it says, last week's parsha, it says the laws of purity and impurity of the Kohen only apply to the boys? It's not fair. So it should also apply to the girls." I said, because it says in the Torah, it says Bnei Aaron, the sons of Aaron. That's what it says. So I don't like that answer. So I said to him, I don't give a if you like the answer. That's the answer. What do you mean? It says explicitly in the Torah. You can't you can't argue with that.
Can't change the narrative.
Yeah, I'm saying so. Certain things. So again, there's in the Parsha class last week we spoke about there's 4 levels of the Torah. There's Pshat is explicit. Then there's Remez, which is hinted out, strongly hinted. Then there's Drash learned out. I mean, if you don't have a formula, you'll never get it. And then there's Sod, which only if someone tells you. That's a secret, a Kabbalah, whatever it is. I mean, it's so totally beyond you. Anyway, we went totally off the subject. I think it's like the second, with 2 out of 3 classes, we're going totally off the subject. Where these classes are going to turn into 300 classes instead of Ella. So therefore, when one feels a palpable love in his heart, which indicates the revelation has become materialized to the point it can be experienced, and this soul revelation, this love can too be received and expressed in other corporeal organs of the body. So if I feel love for you, then what am I going to do? I'll buy you chocolate. I'll do you a favor, right? Right? I might even hug you, right? Because I feel the love in my heart. I do something. I do something to you, for you. When it is so received, when the organs act in accordance with the love in the heart, this love lends vitality to his actions. So if I love you and I want to do something to you, I'm not just going to do it. I'm going to, like you see, you can walk by Walmart or Publix, Valentine's Day, or there's Mother's Day. Every shmendrik is walking outside. You can see a Sunday afternoon, they're walking outside with whatever flowers or balloons, or you know what I'm saying? So these are the guys said, oh shoot, it's Mother's Day, I forgot to give my wife something. Right? The heart, however, is internal and a source of vitality. Therefore, because the heart is internal, it can be invested in every mitzvah that you do. However, the above mentioned fear and love that are based on the intelligence, on the understanding of his heart, of his brain, recesses of the heart. They are far higher order in the level of action. Meaning, if I'm motivated emotionally, it's much easier to channel that emotion into action. But if I only understand it to be right, I don't feel it to be right, it's a lot harder to get excited about that action. Right? So it's impossible to be clothed in the action of the mitzvahs, to become the intellectual power and vitality, to elevate them, to soar on high, that the mitzvah should fly on high. Why? Because you're you're not feeling it, right? You understand that this is the right thing to do. So as we see, when one's the actions are motivated not by the desire of the heart, solely by his understanding, then his actions lack vitality. So it is two of tevuna love and tevuna of fear. Tevuna means understanding, that are so far removed from the organs. So let's say, so now, here we're dealing with a very, very common occurrence. At least I think it is. Now, how often are we totally excited about a mitzvah? I think many times we do a mitzvah because we understand it's right. So if we're going to say that if you don't feel for the mitzvah, and the mitzvah can't be elevated, and then the mitzvah stuck down here, it's not good, then what worth is the mitzvah? That's why the Gemara says, L'chein, so therefore Hashem comes and He elevates the mitzvah for you. If not for the fact that Hashem joins and unites them together with action, meaning as if you did the action with love and fear. We're on 234 in the old print. In the new print, with 240. Right? And this is what it means. This understanding of the love, what should be love and fear of Hashem, which is motivating the mitzvah, that is the good thought. It's not actual fear and love. It's in your heart. It's in your mind. Does all this make sense, by the way?
Yeah. If you do the mitzvah from the heart, it's a genuine mitzvah. If you don't feel it in your heart, it's almost like a chore.
So why are you doing it then?
Because it feels good.
No, because you understand. Because you understand.
Yeah.
You understand that Hashem expects something from you, and therefore you're going to stay away from that verd. So then, if you're not feeling it, do we say the mitzvah's worthless? So comes the boss. And says, it's almost like you have kids, right? You want to teach your kid to save, right? And the kid wants to spend candy, and you're telling your kid, no, put the money in the bank. The kid doesn't understand. He wants his intellectual capacities for candy, and he feels like I'd rather get ice cream. So why is he putting in the piggy bank? Because he knows that you expect something from him and everything else. And then you go to your son and say, because you take that $5 and you put it aside, I'm going to put in another $5. And now you went from having not enough money for your toy, and now you got enough money. That's what Hashem is doing. He's backing us up to make it worth something.
He's matching our 401k.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. No, better. He's not matching. He's elevating, right? I'm just thinking about this note. Okay, we're going to skip the note. Okay, skip the note because it's full of Kabbalah, right? If you want, you could read it. You can read it on your own. After, but it talks about. It gives some Kabbalah.
It's hidden meaning anyway.
No, it's not. It's just it is. Well,
it's a Kabbalah joke.
It's the true meaning is beyond you. It's a lot of Kabbalistic concepts, and we'll spend a lot of time explaining it. And each word is another concept. So now, after a note on 235 or 241, so Alter Rebbe goes on to say that the effects of Hashem joining the good thought of Tvuna and one good deeds, that is in the way the mitzvahs are able to ascend to the world of Bria. So let's take a break. Let's explain, because you'll get your Kabbalah, okay, Eric? So you remember, Ben joined us a little late. So just a reminder that in the breakdown of godliness, because you have God, yes, you have godliness. What's godliness? Remember, expression of God. How does godliness or godliness get to where we are now? So there's a tremendous bureaucracy, a tremendous process to get from point A to point B, so to speak. There's a lot going on.
Layers of an onion.
Yeah. I'm saying so. I mean.
And this is what a soul passes through on the way into
Right,
the body, correct?
right,
And some
yeah.
are absolved and passed directly
Right,
to this
exactly.
level.
Right. So you're saying you open up your phone. You open up your phone, right? And you tap on the phone, and you go open up, or you watch something, or you're watching, or you go on a website, everything else, and it's so simple. Do you know how much is going on behind the scenes to make all that happen? at the moment, right? The cloud, this and that, everything has to talk to each other. So you walk out in the world, and it's like kids. They open up the fridge, there's food. They hit the switch, there's light. They come home, the house is there. Ma, there's nothing in the fridge. Come on, right? All our snacks suck, right? They don't realize what it takes, right? So we walk out into the world as a physical world. How does it get to this point? So Kabbalah explains that there's godliness, and then when godliness begins to get organized meaning where it could be appreciated or viewed through certain viewpoints, or window panes, or different colors or characteristics. There are 4 general levels. They're also called worlds. They're called worlds, but they're called a world because they have structure, but not because, it's a galaxy, it's far, far away. I don't know what's Star Wars, right? Yeah, I'm trying to think of the theme music, but
No,
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
The drones you're looking for.
Yeah. Anyway, so the first one is called Atzilus. Atzilus means the world of emanation, where it's absolute godliness. It's godliness, but in a very specific way.
It's too bright.
Too much. Then you have after Atzilus, there's a massive, tremendous what's the word I'm looking for? There's a big bang where it goes from absolute godliness, where nothing else can exist, to now the possibility of existence begins. That's where something from nothing happens. In Hebrew it's called Yesh Me'ayin. Yesh Me'ayin happens between the world of Atzilus and the world of Bria. The world Bria means creation. Not because necessarily we have a table, but the idea, the concept that you can look at this and see chair, non-godliness, like you see a chair. This idea started, who was it that Milton Friedman or something said, when you look at a pencil, how much goes into the making of a pencil? It's on video. It's pretty cool. He goes into so now, if in the world of Bria, it's a very, very high level. You have some souls are from the world of Bria, meaning they feel that connection to that high level. He was referencing chapter 2, where all the souls descend from up down. But the more train stops you make along the way, the less you feel that connection. There's some souls that come from the world of Bria, which means they hardly made any stops. They feel that strong connection. That's why they're so righteous. Then you have angels, like you might have heard of Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael. These are all archangels. They also come from that level. Okay. The next world, it's a lower world. The godliness is more diluted. It's not just an idea of creation. The idea takes on form, and that's why the world is called the world of formation. It's not just an idea. It's not just in the clouds idea. Actually, it's a well thought out idea. Then we live in the world of action, where the idea is implemented. Okay, so what we're trying to do is, like the famous line that the previous Rebbe said, God made from spiritual physical. Our job is to make from physical spiritual. We're trying to elevate everything up. So when a person does the mitzvah without any motivation, it's just an act. So then the action remains just an action. You haven't elevated it. So that's what he says over here. That that when he does it when Hashem joins, so you're trying to feel motivated, but you can't. But you understand that you should. So we said Hashem joins a good thought. So Hashem is helping you to elevate that action to the world of Bria. Remember that's the highest. That's the one of the highest worlds. This is a world of comprehension, and all the mitzvahs motivated by emotions are rising from an understanding of Hashem's greatness and send there too. But even without this act joining the good deed of the good thought to the deed, one's Torah mitzvahs is sent to the lower world of Yitzirah, the world of formation, world of feeling, right? Because it's intellect. Because remember, there's me and you. So in our relationship, you could have Bria, where you understand why I'm asking you to do something. you have to understand. Yitzira is feeling, it's lower, right? And I see you do it. And since one's performance is motivated at the very least by, we said, you're a Jew, you want to do what Hashem says. So Hashem is helping you to elevate it. However, let's finish up the chapter. Last few lines. This effect, Hashem elevates it. Hashem it combines a good thought to action. To elevate the action of the doing the mitzvah and learning the Torah. That is being done. Why? Because you want to do the right thing. Ad Olam Bria goes to the world of Bria. So, a place, this is the place where Torah mitzvahs that are done through intellectual understanding, they're elevated. Now, what is the highest level of divine service? The highest level of divine service is if you can feel love because you appreciate it. Right? It means you learn, you appreciate. And that appreciation is not just intellectual, it's also felt. That's the highest level. But not always, not always does it work that way. I mean, because remember we learned that there's also a nefesh habahamis, animal soul. So your godly soul wants to take over, this is going back to chapter 9. Your godly soul wants to take over the body. Meaning that it should make every part of the body a tool in the service of God. Which means you should only feel love of God and fear of God and everything else. But the problem is, I want to drive 100 miles an hour, but there's a bunch of cars in the way. You can't, right? The godly soul wants to, but the animal soul is in the way. So you learn. So you learn, and you learn about the beauty of Torah and what happens. You learn Kabbalah and Chassidus about what happens when you do a mitzvah. And you say, I just learned, and today is going to be a great davening. I'm going to do the mitzvah. I'm going to put on tefillin. I'm going to feel excited about it. Stuck. There's your neck. Your neck is called a tzinor. Tzinor means a pipe. Usually pipes are narrow. So you have the intellectual appreciation of godliness here, and you have the feeling of godliness you're supposed to have here. The problem is there's the bottleneck, right? Sometimes, right? There's an accident today on Pines Boulevard, slowing down the way to school. Because of a truck carrying glass. The thing tipped over. There was glass all over Pines Boulevard, right?
What time was this? Early in the morning?
7:40. So you want to go. You want to be to school on time and everything else.
Yeah, last time it was a mirror truck. That guy got a lot of bad luck.
What? A mirror truck. Oh, mirror truck. Yeah, mirror, exactly. We don't believe in that.
Mirror.
Yeah, it was just glass.
Hey.
But the idea is, so sometimes you want to, it's not happening. It ain't working. But because you learned, so option one is you learn and you love, great. But option two is you learn and you're not feeling the love. So what does the Eibishter do? Hashem says, listen here, buddy, I'm gonna match you in your piggy bank, right? I'm gonna elevate you. So I'm gonna elevate it to the level as if you had the love. Because remember, like Levi Yitzchak B'dishav said, whose fault is it that we have the animal soul? Whose fault is it? No. Hashem's fault. He created us that way. That means this is what the Levi Yitzchak B'dishav said, and Alter Rebbe said in chapter 8. Every Yid would if there were no, the Medrash tells us. That's this question. I know this is going to sound racist, terrible, against Gentiles. But the Medrash says. My friends sent me a funny video. I'll show you afterwards. The Medrash asks, if the world was created for Jews to do Torah, right? Why do we have Gentiles?
Good question.
The Medrash is not advocating to wipe out the Gentiles. Obviously, God created Jews and created Gentiles. I mean, the Gentiles are here, and they serve a purpose. So the Medrash says, if there were no Gentiles, there would be no free choice. And going back to what chapter 8 says, if every Jew's natural inclination is Torah, and the influence to not abide by the Torah is a foreign influence. Imagine, we're talking about, I was learning today about this guy, we were learning the Gemara. So what if a guy finds meat in Jerusalem? The discussion in the Mishnah, if it's pure, if it's impure, but the discussion of it's kosher, not kosher, never comes up. Why? Because Jerusalem 2,000 years ago, who's living in Jerusalem 2,000 years? Only Jews, right? So meaning, so the Eibishter put the challenge here in front of us. Sometimes it's not your fault. You're trying. Sometimes it's not your fault. Actually, it could be your fault, based on what we're going to get to that a little later. Let's say you built up, let's say, I'll take a personal example. I haven't exercised in who knows how long, right? Or I haven't gone running. And one day I decide, okay, exercise. I start running, I was like, so I want to go running and I can't. Well, you've been sitting on the couch watching the Yankees and the Rangers for too long. What do you expect, right? So sometimes, because we haven't invested in our godly soul, our animal soul is too built up. It's too much of a force. Right? There's too much what they call cholesterol in the arteries, right?
Yeah, LDL.
Calcium.
Right, when you have too much cholesterol.
LDL.
Right?
Yeah, your LDL is too high.
Now we're saying the Abish, when you come and you say, I'm going to do the mitzvah. Yeah, yesterday I wasn't perfect, and yesterday I didn't do the mitzvah, but right now I want to do the mitzvah, and I can't. It could be it's my fault that I built up the Yetzer Hara. It's true. But Hashem says, I got you, brother. Hop on my back. I'm going to elevate that mitzvah, but the motivation to do the mitzvah properly has to be there. Last line of chapter 16. But without that, even without joining the rise to the world of Yitzira, why? Because why, in the end, why is a Jew doing the mitzvah? Because he's Jewish. We do mitzvahs, Chabad, we do mitzvahs with people all the time. Put on tefillin. I don't know. I didn't ask you if you know. Your job is to do the mitzvah. Doesn't understand, doesn't appreciate it. So you might ask, Rabbi, why are you bothering putting on a tefillin with a guy who's not religious, doesn't know a thing about Judaism? Why are you wasting your time? It means nothing for him.
You don't know that.
No, a person might say that.
Yeah, it might say that,
But-
but my response would be, you don't know that, because if he puts on the tefillin, that may fan the spark.
Because you are saying that answer based on what it says here. Because every Jew has a natural connection to God. It means as long as we believe that we have to introduce Judaism to Jews, then that question is valid. But the moment you say no, Judaism is natural to a Jew, and all we have to do is reveal it, not introduce it, then every Jew it's possible to do a mitzvah. And there's no such thing as a Jew does a mitzvah without any feeling, because every Jew wants to do the mitzvah. It's a different way. It's a different way of looking at it. That's how you have to look at a Jew. So there's the Jew who's putting on tefillin, and there's the Jew who's not yet putting on tefillin. No such thing as the Jew doesn't put on tefillin. Right? Jew keep Shabbos, not yet. All right.
I have a story for you, bro, when you're done.
All right. Go ahead.